Go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to PWD Allies podcast. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host. Today, is it about leftovers, Christmas leftovers, candy canes? Are you tired of candy canes? Wow. I don't have any candy canes here, but I do have some chocolate, and it has my name, my initial here, B. Chocolate. Are we tired of chocolate? Wow. I still have some leftover chocolate.
I got so much chocolate that's stupid.
Yeah, I guess still part of my initial is still here. If you can see that on the screen, everyone who's listening to the podcast, I'm showing a piece of chocolate that has my initial of a B. That it's hard chocolate, but it's not bad. It's actually really good, but I can only eat so much of it because I get tired of the leftovers. But I try to make it last. And then of course we got Terry's orange chocolate. Wow.
That is not my favorite, I have to say. That's probably my least favorite chocolate of all time is that one.
But I don't look forward to the new price on it. It used to be so cheap. Now it's like over $6 for Terry's. Yeah, wow. It's outrageous. And making the dollar stretch these days, it's so hard. Is it leftover turkey? Wow.
Well, the politicians can afford the $7 eggnog, right, Brent? But it's a little bit hard to afford the $7 eggnog when you're on income assistance. That's for sure.
Oh, totally. And over the holiday season, I was away for the holiday season and had some eggnog. But I had some different kind of eggnog this year. I've never tried it. It was non-dairy. It was a non-dairy eggnog, and what's it called?
Natural.
Yeah.
Was it non-taste as well?
Actually,
no taste.
I didn't mind it. It was actually quite good. And normally, I don't really go with the ones that are not really used to the eggnogs.
Yeah.
But doing price comparisons of eggnog, like I mentioned in a Breaking with Brent segment of my eggnog ventures every year.
I don't know about everybody else, but I always look forward to that one so much, Brent. Like
I do too.
You did start like a tradition, and we kind of made it fun, and I always look forward to that one so much. So I hope people enjoy it because and I kind of alluded to it on the last podcast, like it's true that you and I would not do this. You and I would not do this podcast if it wasn't fun. Like I'm having fun doing this. And I know you have fun doing it too. And Chad Harridge was supposed to come on today, and again the reason why I wanted him to come on so badly is because like we had him on when was it, in March or something.
Around there, yeah.
It was around there, and it was so fun. It was such a fun podcast, such a fun episode, and it's like, I just want to have him on again because it was so fun for me.
It was a blast.
And like there's so many, like that's just one example, but that's why I still do it. Like I said, we do it because of the advocacy, but I wouldn't be doing it like this. Like I would go back to writing angry emails. If it was just about the angry emails, I would just go back to writing angry emails, and I wouldn't be doing this because in order to do this, you have to have fun because it's a lot of time and effort, right? It's a lot of time and effort.
You have to have fun with with all the different shows that we do and the different segments of Breaking with Brent. Coffee time. I haven't done coffee time for a while, so. I know that some people have asked me, well, what about your coffee time segment? I'm going to be doing some more of those actually in 2025 periodically. So I'm going to kind of revisit that segment. The Breaking with Brent, people know about that one. The travel segment, when I can, I will be doing those. But
those are super popular, by the way. Like I look at the numbers every month, and you still get tons of views every month. Oh, yeah. You're still getting tons of views on those train videos every single month. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I've had people ask me from time to time. Some of my neighbors said, "Well, yeah, I actually checked out your train segments. How was that? I've never traveled by train. If you've never traveled by train before, I really encourage you to do that. It's like either once in a lifetime or or maybe just an adventure that you want to do, and if you enjoy it, keep doing it. You have to travel in that mode where when you're in train time, like you're not in just travel time, you're in train time, you're in their time. And people who know what I'm talking about is that if you've done the train travel, you know that you have no control of that time. You just go with it, and you get there when you get there. But here's some advice, though: if you're traveling along and you want to make your accommodations, do not make your accommodations well in advance. Make it closer to when you're scheduled to get there, because you might get there a lot later than you expect. So if your connections are supposed to be connecting to another train, just plan for it accordingly. You'll have a better idea when you get closer in. The conductors will make the announcement, and that's my advice. Just get the most value for your dollar. And in 2025, we're expecting an economic slowdown, a huge economic slowdown. Nobody knows what the tariffs are going to do from the U.S. to Canada, what impact it's going to have. Is it going to be 25%? Could be less. I don't know. But regardless, I mean, it's going to have an impact. The cost of living is going up. Food prices are going up. And so this episode that we're talking about today is about Christmas leftovers, because we brought back some turkey dinner leftovers. Probably going to freeze some of it, because you got to make it last. I mean, especially on PWD, income for a month. I mean, one check per month, everyone. I mean, it's not every 2 weeks, right? Yeah. So you have to make that make that food last you. When I joke around about candy canes, I'm not a big candy cane person. I never really have been when I was a kid. I mean, they're really hard on the teeth anyway. But I mean, I still like them, but I try not to eat too many of them. Eggnog, yeah. I mean, hey, you can give me a whole bunch, and I'll just down it, no problem. Not all at once, because I'll get a tummy ache.
I definitely like one or two eggnogs at Christmas for sure.
Yeah, me too.
That's my weakness. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that over the holiday season, and I had my fill of it of eggnog this season. When it comes to chocolate, I just have a little bit here and there, and in moderation, right? And that's what it is. We got the elf on the shelf right behind me here, observing, keeping an eye on things.
You know what he's saying, Brent? He's saying, no more disability poverty, no more legislated poverty.
That's exactly it. In 2025, I mean, governments need to realize that nobody should be living in abject legislated poverty. I mean, they're assessed and designated as a person with disability by their practitioner. And that's government's responsibility.
According to Gordon Campbell back in the day, in 2002, it was according to his wisdom that he assessed. He wanted to get everybody reassessed because he apparently knew better than the doctors did. He said, you know what? Screw the medical doctor's opinion. Yeah. The medical doctors don't know any better. As the Premier of BC, this is Gordon Campbell again. As the Premier of BC in 2002, I know better than every medical doctor in all of BC. So I'm going to get everybody reassessed.
And the elf on the shelf says, no, because you're already disabled. How much more disabled do you need to be to prove that you still have a disability? Yeah. Has the disability gone away? No. I mean, The elf on the shelf, yes, I can make the elf on the shelf disappear, but I don't disappear because I'm me.
And one of the better podcasts we've done in a while is that Ghost to Christmas Past, actually.
Yes.
If there are people that haven't watched it yet, go watch it. It's called Ghost to Christmas Past, and it's got a little bit of a Christmas theme in it, of course. But I mean, it's all about legislated poverty. It's all about how things are like the systemic. We're talking about systemic discrimination. How there's so much systemic discrimination that's in full view.
Oh yeah.
It's like in your face. It's in full view. And governments are saying, "What? I don't see it," and our human rights tribunals are saying, "What? I don't see it." Like it's just ridiculous. Like
it is completely ridiculous.
Really stupid. It's like don't call it discrimination. Well, what am I supposed to call it then?
Yeah.
because that's what it is, you know.
It's so
You know, and I wanted sometimes, like I've been having more conversations with you know, my friend Kent and other people, and the more I talk about how bad the systemic discrimination is, I think about you know the kangaroo courts. You've ever heard of kangaroo courts? Yep. where it's kind of a game when you're a kid. It's like everybody's guilty, and if you're guilty, like there's like you're guilty of this, Brent, and then you have to sing a song or like an embarrassing song or something. Yep. But like kangaroo courts, for real, like as a real thing, are when innocent people are just charged with some stupid thing, and they said, well, you're guilty, and when you don't even worry about the truth of something, right?
Mm-hmm. I remember many years ago, I worked at a guest ranch for children and just young teenagers, and we had kangaroo court there, and they would say, okay, they would pick on certain people, and I'll say, okay, Brent, you did not make sure that all your people in your dorm that were supposed to be approaching to have dinner to line up properly. No, I did. Some of them just weren't ready. Right. Well, okay, you're at fault. So now because of that, you're actually going to have to work our canteen stand and make sure that everybody gets their treats that they want to, and they have a certain amount that they were given each week and each day, and to make that kind of allot that amount. And so I was, what? I think that's bad. They're like, well, that's your punishment. My punishment? Yeah. So when you mentioned kangaroo court, it kind of brought back a few memories on that. And, you know, and that's the thing, right? I cherish memories past and going forward. What will 2025 be? Mm-hmm. And that we'll be talking about that in the next podcast, everyone. That's a little sneak peek of where do we see things going forward in 2020.
We're not going
forward. And what did we see in 2024? Mm-hmm. And so that's a little sneak peek for the next episode.
Yeah.
But, you know, with Christmas leftovers, you know, there's a lot of meaning to Christmas leftovers. You know, like cherishing the time that you spend with family. You know, if you have family in your life, that's great. And if you don't, you cherish those memories of, it puts a smile on the face, all the positive moments that you had. I think back about my mom a lot, my mom and my mother, because I was adopted. Mm-hmm. So I think about both of them and watching over and like just knowing that I'm doing the best I can at Christmas time and through the holiday season. I know a lot of people are grieving over the holiday season due to so many reasons, right?
Yeah.
I mean, things are not always easy in a person's life, but sometimes you just learn to adapt to new things, and life changes.
Christmas can be a very hard time for a lot of people.
It can. Well,
you know, talking about Christmas being hard, we have our friend Tom Poxon. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be on the next podcast. But I mean, one of the things we can talk about Tom is, you know, this has been like the first kind of full year that he's experienced the death of his wife.
Yes.
You know, and that first year is really tough.
It is.
And we always know Tom to have a smile on his face, and I mean, you know, God bless him for that. But I mean, I can tell you, the first year is really tough. Like all of the firsts, you know, and you know, and again, like I understand it, Tom understands it, and I know you understand it. But then you have a government that doesn't understand it. You know, it's like, well, I mean, you lost your wife, so here's a clawback for you, and.
Yeah,
we can see you're having a hard time. Here's a clawback. We can see it's tough. Here's a clawback. You know, and it's just the whole thing is just so stupid.
The part that bothers me most about when government says that they realize people are struggling and having a real hard time economically, and they say, "I hear you, I see you. there's more work to do in the weeks and months to come. Well, weeks and months, I mean, those months could be extended into like the end of the next following year, right?
Yeah.
People say, well, I want help now. I need help now. And
you know the Bee Gees song, words, everlasting words, da 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 da, or
yes.
however it goes. So I mean, it's all words though. It's just it sounds nice. It's like let's say some pretty little words. Let's say some pretty little words, but like let's not like mean anything by it. It's like we'll just say pretty words and that'll be enough.
Yeah, what's that phrase? There's action. Words are mean volume, but action is result. Yeah. And I mean that's what I hear all the time.
And that's why things like Pink Shirt Day or for Anti-Bully Day, or even like Orange Shirt Day. I mean, great. I mean, like, I'm not saying don't have those days. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying not to have those days because it's important. But when you have politicians that stand up and they're going, look at me, I'm wearing my pink shirt, or look at me, I'm wearing my orange shirt. Like, wow, and the action doesn't match what they could and should be doing. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's it is recognizing at Pink Shirt Day, it creates a huge volume of interest, but results are supposed to kind of match that. And I remember Pink Shirt Day many years ago, advocacy wise, a strong advocate who basically would show up at the legislature with pink shirts, and Sonia was wearing a pink shirt, I was wearing a pink shirt, and we stood up there and we were chanting in front of the BC legislature, and they had a marching band going through. And it was the lieutenant governor at the time, and they had to basically bring in the legislature. It's a traditional moment that they do at every time that the legislature opens. And they were broadcasting live, and we were out there, and we had megaphones, and we were basically saying like, raise the rates, and bring back the bus pass. And we were chanting so loud that it overpowered the marching band. You could actually hear it on TV because we were playing it back later, and they were saying that you could actually hear it in actually there, and they tried to silencing that sound out, but they couldn't fully do it.
Right.
And inside the legislature, they actually heard us chanting outside.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, but the point of why we were advocating is to make our voices to be heard, and they tried to muffle it over by a marching band. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't have a marching band because it's a tradition, but our voices didn't get heard. I mean, they say they heard, but didn't make the change. And in regulations, I want people to understand that why things are happening the way they are with people with disabilities in Canada. It's in the regulations. Those regulations on how they're written.
And the thing is, Brent, I mean, let's nail this point down like really, really hard. Like let's nail it hard. Is it's not even legislation. It's not even legislation. It's in the regulation, which makes it even worse. Because the fact that it's in the regulation means that they could change all of that stuff overnight in 1 hour.
Oh yeah,
in 1 hour they could do wholesale changes because it's all in regulation. All the punishing crap, that they do of the clawbacks, of the no movement, like you can't leave the province for more than 30 days, or like empty your pockets, or all that stuff, and like, well, you deserve a rent subsidy and you don't. I mean, all that stuff. It's all It's not even a legislation. It's all regulation, which means they could change it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Have you been incarcerated in the last 30 days?
Like there's so much of that just punishing systemic discrimination. Let's say it again. It's punishing systemic discrimination, but everybody wants to say, don't call it discrimination, Neil. Don't call it discrimination. And back when we did the Three Ghosts of Christmas Past,
Oh yes.
I gave the 8 examples, right? And if anybody can go back and watch the 8 examples,
It's a great episode.
It is a great episode. Everybody should go back and watch that one. Because it's just, we have like 30 years of that punishing systemic discrimination. Again, where people say, well, don't call it discrimination, but it's there. It's so obvious. It's in your face. It's in your face. And I was like, well, don't call it discrimination, Neil. Well, what am I supposed to call it then? Like a pink unicorn. Let's call it a pink unicorn. And a pink unicorn, that's discrimination personified. So there you go.
Yeah, and it's totally backwards on the way the government's thinking. On the policies, and if they say the regulations. It's all the ingredients. When I talk about the spaghetti episode, where those are the ingredients that are put in, and the policy is actually embedded on top of saying, well, this is the policy now, because now it's legislated policy, but all the ingredients are in the regulations. So that has to be done, changed. And in Bill 7 in BC, that could have actually been changed so easily at the time, but it was like, oh, they messed around with the wording here and there, and it could have easily been done properly and going forward. But then, of course, the BC government's now relying on the federal government to get the CDB going in July of 2025. Well, we know that the CDB, the Canada Disability Benefit, that thing is so bungled up, so bad, so much red tape and bureaucracy bullshit that nobody's going to be able to access it. And now we got a possible federal election that is pending. There's like grenades getting thrown back and forth at each other in the federal, saying, well, Justin Trudeau, the federal prime minister, his government needs to go. I have my thoughts on that. Where is it going to be like a new leadership? Is that going to change things? Again, it comes down to regulations. Federal government, you promised something, you never delivered on it. Almost 5 years ago, like next year will be 5 years since that was originally, promised, right? So with that, the way it stands right now, the BC government's relying on the federal. Now, if that was me and I said, well, yeah, I'm going to throw all my eggs in one basket because the federal government's going to do something. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, looking at it now, no, it's not going to help nobody. Rather than the government taking care of their own residents in their own province, you've got revenue streams that you can tap into at any time. At any time. You can give your politicians, your own MLAs and all your other staffers huge increases. I talked about this over the holiday season while I was away. I tell you, the words at the dinner table, oh boy. And this wasn't even coming from me. Like,
not suitable for work conversation.
Oh yeah, like this was coming. From people that I went to go and visit with, and they're not disabled. But they're seniors, but the family. It was Sonia's family, right? And so, their viewpoint was, why don't they take care of seniors and with disabilities? Why don't they take care of British Columbians with disabilities, or any other province that have people with disabilities in their own province? It's all the rhetoric, they said, and really, like,
governments are mandated. Are mandated. That's their responsibility. They are mandated. It used to. I don't know if they do that anymore. I've talked about this before, but they used to have to put their hand on the Bible.
Yes.
They used to have to put their hand on the Bible, and I solemnly swear to do my job as minister to protect the most vulnerable of BC. They used to do that, hand on Bible, and do that. Like I said, I don't know if they do that anymore, but
they still have to they still have to say their oath and repeat what they're being told to repeat that. And the discussion that came out of it was every single MLA is going to get $60,000 increase, right? Yeah. So that's almost quadruple what a PWD get in 1 year. on top of $119,000 salary.
Where's my $60,000, Brent?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, and I'm not picking on like the NDP. I mean, because any other government would probably do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like doing the blame. They do the blame game. What I'm saying is, regardless of the dollar amount of retaining the MLAs, so they don't jump over to another party or whatever it may be, because every party is going to do something. They're going to say, "Oh no, shame on that party." I've learned over time with advocacy is don't do the blame game. Just hold whoever is in government to account. Now saying, well, what they did 16 years ago is what's happening now. I've learned that change the regulations. Let's go forward, everybody. Yeah. Government, let's go forward. Let's work together, okay? And that's what it is about. Making things better.
Yeah, and even you talk about the regulations, but it goes even further than that. When we talked about the systemic discrimination, and I gave my story where I actually talked to somebody from the Human Rights Tribunal, right? I had the guy on the phone, and I said, well, so you mean that the government's not allowed to lie about a pension being a guaranteed income supplement? Basically, a protected income, because that's what a pension is. I mean, a pension. I mean, if you didn't want to call it a protected income, it would just be income then. But like a pension is a protected thing. It's a guaranteed thing. It's a rainy day fund. I mean, everybody knows what it is.
Yeah, it's been paid into,
and so you pay into it as a rainy day fund. And so I had the guy on the phone, the guy from Human Rights Tribunal, and so I basically said, so the government is basically allowed to lie. They don't have to acknowledge the truth. They don't have to acknowledge the truth of the pension. They can just lie about it. They don't have to acknowledge the truth. And his thing was, well, that's the way the Human Rights Code is written. Remember? I said that on the last podcast.
Yep,
He said that's the way the Human Rights Code is written.
Yep,
that is so important to realize too. I mean, if governments are allowed to pervert and lie and disguise the truth and just put the truth under the rug, like I was saying before about kangaroo courts. I mean, basically, our human rights tribunals are run like kangaroo courts, because they're not acknowledging the truth of anything. They're just arbitrarily saying, well, that's discrimination, Neil, and that's not. That's discrimination, and that's... We get to decide. We get to decide what the truth is, because the truth doesn't matter, Neil. So we're arbitrarily deciding on the truth because the truth doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that kind of goes with the episode that we did where polishing the teeth, right?
Polishing the teeth.
People's perception, thinking, well, the government says that.
Well, that was the Ghost of Christmas Past one. That was the same one. That was the same one.
Yeah, exactly. And so I really encourage people to check out that, because it really puts things into context. Because people's belief of people with disabilities, they think, their rent is on top of their check. I mean, one of my neighbors said, oh, well, okay, so that's what your check is per month. So you get your rent on top, right? No, it's all included. It's all included. That's the total amount. Really? Wow. I always thought that that the pension is that amount, and the amount on top. I said it's not a pension. It used to be a pension. What? It used to be a pension until the government turned it into a pink unicorn and changed it.
Yeah.
In the regulations.
We have Minnie in chat. Actually, it's cool. She's in chat. She says a few things. I just want to read what she says. Her first comment is, all the low-income programs are suffering. And then she says, orphans and widows are in the Bible, and that's true. It says to look after the orphans and the widows and the widowers. Yep, that's probably where it started from, and then greed took over, which is true. And then the last thing she says is the way they set up EI, if you enroll in it as self-employed and don't cancel it by the deadline, you are stuck with it forever. Non-disabled assume a lot happens on social assistance. That does not happen. That is also true, right?
100%.
100% true.
100% true on that, Minnie. You nailed it on that, Minnie. I thank you on that.
Yeah. there's so many like misconceived notions of, oh, the government's actually looking like taking care of people, and it's not.
Yeah, they put a false sense of a narrative out there that they're taking care of PWD. They have their best interest. And what happens is that you go a year, don't give an increase, you skip a year, and then they say, well, we've raised the rates 5 times. Tell me 5 times in the budget that you raised the rates. It's that narrative, right? And it's I always remember the one line. It's called the mindset. Yeah, the mindset, right? And I got that actually over the holiday season. We talked a lot about the mindset, because right now we're dealing with some idiots who live above us where we live, and Sonia's dad said it's the mindset. And that came from recently people think, well, where is he going with this?
That's very polite, isn't it? That's a very polite way of saying it.
Yeah, well,
it's the mindset.
It actually came from my manager, the company that I rent from. The manager said it's the mindset of the people who live above us, and they just don't care. And so I'm going to get into that little narrative just for a few minutes, and kind of give people kind of a breakdown of what's happening here. Without giving too many particulars, but because some people have reached out to me and said, well, like, what's going on, where you live? Like, you're saying that you're not happy. So here's the narrative on that. We live in an older building, right? And it is what it is. It is habitable. It's not falling apart, not fully. Things are functional. We just have some nasty neighbors who live above us. And the management company said there's nothing they can do about it. We have laminate flooring, but it's very old laminate flooring, so it creaks. And so every time somebody walks around up above, it creaks and creaks. If they drop something, it echoes down to where we are. And so when I'm doing my podcast, I'm thinking, no, please don't drop something, because it'll go boom. And there was one episode that we did, and I think you heard it. And it was this. And I know one of our guests did. What was that? Well, that was my neighbor dropping something on the floor, and deliberately, right? But the management company says, well, people do drop things, and does happen. But some people do it deliberately. They drop things on the floor. There's no buffer between the flooring. Like, it's some buildings are built where it's more solid in between each floor. And Sonia's dad, he built places, so he knows how places are built. So when I explain him what's going on, he says, the flooring can be replaced. That can be easily fixed to that part, but it's the buffer between the flooring. And so we were offered another place to move to. And from our management company, they suggested, maybe move to another floor in the same building on the top floor, so that they didn't want to hear about us complaining about our neighbors. Well, hello, how about fix the problem rather than saying, hey, move to another unit? And you know why? Because we'll be paying $1,750 minimum for another unit in the same building. They said, or we can move you to another building, one of our other buildings, and the price is $1,795. Well, we did number crunching. We couldn't even do it. We could say we have a roof over our head, but we wouldn't be able to pay bills. We wouldn't be able to buy food. We'd have to go, 100% all the time to a food bank, but wouldn't be able to pay bills.
You could just start eating your furniture, Brent.
Well,
just start like carving up the sofa behind you there, and
maybe
with a bit of ketchup, or
you get your fiber, with lots
of fiber in the cushion. You can start,
Well, you just grab a little cushion here, and you just start gnawing on the side of it.
Maybe you can start with the elf on the shelf. You just start gnawing on the head of the elf on the shelf.
But with that being said, they say, well, the owner is not willing to take a bite on it, but then the company says, well, I'll talk to them in our office and see what they're willing to do. But even if they drop the price down, it would still put us in a very precarious situation. Then, of course, the government says, oh, well, if you rent at a place like that, you're going to put yourself into a bad situation, and that you wouldn't be eligible for any crisis supplement because you deliberately put yourself into a precarious situation. Well, hello, how about raise the rates? How about raise the rates to a standard of living? Or better yet, I know Tom's going to be watching this, better yet, Tom, hey, how about basic income?
Yeah.
Or Joseph talks about this. If a person could be self-employed, perfect, right? I mean, if that works for a person, great. There's so many avenues, but again, I mean, a person with a disability, that I mean, it is who we are, right?
Yeah.
And government has, like I say, a responsibility of taking care of their citizens, however it is. I mean, if you give them a basic income, now a person can explore other opportunities that maybe they can blossom to other avenues, but they're still having, it's almost like a senior supplement, guaranteed income supplement. And Sonia's dad was saying to me, well, explain to me about this basic income. He was curious. So I said, well, I'd love maybe talk to Tom about this, or Joseph. Who are they? Well, Tom actually, it was kind of ironic because Tom actually had messaged me and said, Merry Christmas. I said, yeah, Merry Christmas. And he says, what are you doing? I said, well, we're visiting with her family. Oh, that's great. And yeah, it was good. We took the transit out from Victoria out to Duncan. Because we were able to do that during the weekday. Yeah, and so we got out, but we had to go.
Welcome to the Hotel California. I always think of that. I always think of that song when I think of you can't leave. You can only leave on one day.
You can leave, but you can't get back. Yeah, you can't always get what you want, but you can't always get what you need. So we actually went on the transit out to Duncan. Long story short is, and then we transferred in Duncan, went out to Nanaimo. So that was different, but we had to wait till the afternoon. We wanted to go in the morning, but we couldn't. They had a CityLink bus. It's a shuttle van, it's like one of those Amazon vans, but they actually run it. It's a separate company. It's not transit. But it's very expensive. When you take that back and forth, it really adds up a lot. So we couldn't do that too many more times. We've done that enough already in December. So commuting. But so we took the transit bus out. However, we couldn't get back on the transit. Why? Because we couldn't get back on Boxing Day. There was no transit between. There is transit within the city of Nanaimo. There is transit within the city of Victoria. There is transit in Duncan, but there's no transit for they call it commuter bus. So from Nanaimo to Duncan, they call it an express.
Isn't
commuter.
that called a Venn diagram when you show the two circles and where the intersection is? So there's two circles and there's no intersection.
There's nothing in between. And again, there's that red tape, problem. Bureaucratic stuff. So we couldn't get back, and so Sonia's parents said, "Well, I guess we'll have to drive you back." Well, that'd be a 2-hour drive all the way from Nanaimo to Victoria. Then they'd have to take 2 hours back and drive back. A huge gas cost. They're seniors. They're low income, and they don't have a lot of money. A lot of people are struggling right now. Economically. So Tom says, "Well, I'm in Parksville." And he said, "So when are you going back?" I said, "Well, we're going back tomorrow." And okay. He says, "Well, I'm going back." So he says, "Well, I'll give you a ride." So he came by, and we were talking about a little bit about basic income, a little bit, but we were talking about a lot of things, on our journey. Sonia was saying, we all kind of got involved in our conversation. It was a great talk. And again, I really encourage people to look back at some of the podcasts that we've done throughout the year. And Tom talks about basic income. So if you're interested in learning about basic income, I really encourage people to look back at that. So getting back to about, Sonia's dad was talking to me about basic income. And I said, well, GIS, right? Guaranteed income supplement. That's what seniors get. I said, then OAS, OH security. Then there's CPP. There's a lot of different services that are out there.
And there's survivors' pensions.
There's survivors' pensions. There's EI. There's GST, child tax credits. There's all these programs that are there. That's basic income, folks. You put it all into one. But the problem is, I think government doesn't want to do that. You know why? Because now they're going to have to eliminate all the government positions that are kind of controlling all these services.
Well, so that's everybody knows that I have a kind of a beef with David Eby, our current premier, and the reason is, there's a couple of reasons, but really, he's running the government so much different than John Horgan did.
Oh.
Like you just do a comparison contrast. There was that one song from, I think it was Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things is not the same. That song from Sesame Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, again, you have John Horgan on the one side, and you have David Eby on the. I mean, there's such a stark contrast, and David Eby is just he's running the government like he's scared, like he's handing out money like it's candy. Like, I gotta bribe you with all this cash because I know you're gonna cross the floor if I don't do it. Like,
but not to PWD though.
Everything he's doing is just kind of running scared. And I mean, and the thing that bugs me is like knowing that he's a lawyer, and he's supposed to be confident. You're supposed to be smart. Number one, you're supposed to be smart. And I have no doubt that he is smart. I mean, you have to be smart to be a lawyer, and you have to be confident to be a lawyer. But he's not showing either of those things. He's not showing either. He's showing that he's not smart, and he's showing that he's not confident. I keep thinking, like, why? Why are you doing the absolute opposite of what you should be doing? You should be a confident lawyer, and a smart lawyer, and he's doing the exact opposite. It's like, why? Why, David Eby? Why?
I remember doing different conferences, talking with Mr. Horgan, who was our premier when the government got elected in 2017 with the supply and confidence agreement with the BC Green Party. It worked out really well at first, and then it kind of crumbled. The disagreements came, and then we had an election, in 2020. Then, of course, the federal election we had the same year. But looking back at it, different conversations I had with John Horgan, he really wanted to raise the rates for PWD. I talked to him one-on-one on a personal level. I've talked about this on the podcast before, but hearing John's viewpoint, he said he wanted PWD to be successful in whatever they can do in their life to their best abilities. And if their ability is there, but they just can't physically or mentally do what they used to be able to do, but wanted to do, he wanted to make sure that the income was actually going to be there to actually help PWD to thrive, put money back into the economy. He said, support local businesses, Brent, he said. And I'll tell you, everybody listening to the podcast or watching live right now, John said, I want PWD to be to live comfortably, to basically thrive, to put money into like he really wanted local businesses to thrive, but to have enough money to basically pay for your rent, to put a roof over your head, and have enough to basically pay for your your essentials, cost of living. And I said, well, what about tying the rate to inflation? He goes, absolutely. I will advocate. He said, I will advocate to the government to tie the rates to inflation, to the most least amount. I mean, that's the bare minimum, he said, to do. But then even tying it to the rate inflation, also every year, just giving an increase. I mean, not a lot, but he says, but over time that will accumulate. So the rate of inflation will go up, and then you'll get that increase. So you're still covering your actual bare minimum of what your essentials are, but you're still getting that increase. So you're guaranteed every year that you are going to get an increase. And that's what he wanted to do. I don't know what stopped that from happening. Again, I think it's the regulations that's embedded in there.
Well, again, I know exactly what stopped him, and that's the Ghost of Christmas Past.
Yes,
we talked about that on the Ghost of Christmas Past. This is like that ghost in the machine of 30 years of systemic discrimination that's in plain view. It's in plain view. Everybody can see it. But you better not call it out.
Because I think that's where John got very, very frustrated, because he came across that, and then he realized, I can't change this. I can't change it. And I know that doesn't matter who forms government. I know that a lot of the political leaders, they'll get in with the best interest at the time, right? They want to see things change, but then some of them maybe have not the best interest, right? They'll run it to the ground for whatever reason, maybe for personal reasons or political reasons. But I think deep down, I know every political leader or MLA or MPP or MP, they have the best interest at heart, right? Because at the end of the day, I think they want everybody to be happy in their own viewpoint. But the system is designed in a certain way that it's stopping them from being fully successful. And then when they want to speak up, they get the party whips at them saying, no, don't you dare speak up.
Yeah, the system is broken on purpose because it's serving them perfectly. They're like, well, it's working for us. Yeah, it's working for us, so we're not going to change it. Yeah,
and then they tell the other people in the country that are arguing or standing up, saying, "Quiet down now." And it reminds me of an episode when I was in history class, and we watched a video, and they call it peasants, kings, and peasants, and they would throw things down and them quiet down now.
I mean, every time I try to speak up about the clawback issue, and I know I sound like a broken record, and I apologize in advance. But every time I speak up about it, I literally have people saying, "Go away, Neil. Stop talking." I literally get that. Every time I speak up about it, it's like, "Stop talking, Neil. We don't want to hear the truth, Neil. Go away. Go away, Neil. Stop talking truth. Stop talking truth. Just go away. Shut up. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it." And that's from government. That is from our Human Rights Tribunal. That is from our Office of Human Rights Commissioner, and from lawyers. I've come at it from every angle, and they're all saying, "Shut up, Neil. Go away, Neil. Stop talking, Neil." Like it's so like that. It's so baked in. You got over 30 years of baked in, purposeful, systemic discrimination against people with disabilities. It's baked in, and they don't even see it because it's baked in. Like, it's like, how your mom used to hide maybe broccoli. Like let's hide some broccoli into some baked in, like, I don't know, banana bread or something, and maybe Brent won't see it if I bake it into the But that's what the systemic is. It's baked in. It's all in there.
Oh yeah, and I've run against that over time with advocacy. It's like, quiet down, like, stop advocating so hard, because eventually that nobody's gonna want to hear it, and they're gonna say, go away, like, quiet down. Well, and what you're telling people is, don't stand up for what you believe in. Don't stand up. And my mom taught me to stand up for what you believe in. If you believe in something, Brent, go for it. If you really believe in something, go for it. Yeah, you're going to find some stumbling blocks along the way, but you need to pick yourself up. My mom, a quote from her, give yourself a kick in the ass, keep going, pick yourself up, go forward. And you're going to find in life, and I found this over time. I've learned from advocacy that, my viewpoints are for what I believe in. I mean, they're always my opinion. But I also learned from other advocates on different things too. I've misstepped a few times here and there. Maybe I've wording on things, and I apologize. To some other advocates too, that maybe I've said a few things that maybe I shouldn't have said. But it's all just my opinion. But it's the learning process, of learning from each other, right? I mean, everyone has their own viewpoints on how they come across for advocacy wise, but I think at the end of the day, they just want people to be happy, right? And there's nothing wrong with everyone's viewpoints, right? It's getting to the end game and holding whoever's an account. I mean, and that comes down to people in our BC legislature. One of our guests that we had on, and we have on every so often, I mean, he taught me a lot. He says, Brent, and he taught me on a personal level, and Sonia was there at the time, and he says, you two, rather just holding the current government to account rather than pointing fingers at whoever was in opposition or government, working together, going forward, rather than doing the blame game. Because you do the blame game, nothing gets done.
Yeah.
Nothing gets done,
Oh,
right?
Exactly.
You know, and I always value that one member of the Legislative Assembly. It's not a member of the Legislative Assembly at this time. He didn't get re-elected back in, unfortunately. But you know who you are.
Well, we can say the name. We can say.
Oh, okay. Dan Davies.
Yeah.
Dan Davies taught me a lot. I gave a speech one time in front of the BC legislature, and a little crowd was there, and it started forming bigger and bigger. And I was just there, and I just wing things. I don't read from a script. I just say from the heart and what I need to say. And I said that right in front in the legislature, right in front outside. And you know who was standing in the crowd, Neil?
Well,
Dan
Davies.
Davies.
Yeah.
Dan Davies was there, and I saw him wipe a tear away, because what I said was a lot of how heart-wrenching it was on decision making on different things for what policy has done over time. And I said, I just want to see people happy. I want to see change happen for the better people's lives.
The last time he was on the podcast, that was the Schrodinger's cat episode.
Yes.
Everybody has to go back and look for the pink thumbnail. It's a bright pink, but it's titled Schrodinger's cat something, and I love that because Dan was so game. Like, remember I had that whole what do you want to call it, the metaphor set up where I said, the 12% thing of like, well, we'll give 12% of people with disabilities this rent subsidy, and the other 88% we won't bother. And I said, can you imagine that, Dan, if I applied the same 12% rule to your name and said, that everybody that that had their names start with A, B, C, or D, didn't get it. And he's like, oh yeah, that would suck because my name, I missed it by one letter, and so I could just tell that he was totally game on that episode. So I love him because like we said before, he's a truther, right? And,
totally.
And I like somebody that just tells the truth even though it hurts. Like he's one of those guys that he'll tell you the truth even though it hurts. Because he's told us a few times, like, that I don't see that he says personally I don't see them increasing the rates because they don't have the money. Like that was a truth, a hard truth that he said a couple times, but yeah, I love him for that he's
very straightforward
truther kind of a person. I like that a lot.
In front of the legislature was, I'm really sorry. He came up to me and he says, I am so sorry. I wasn't part of the government at that time when these things went down. And he says, our government must do better. Our government. And that was back then. And he says that the government has to learn from advocacy wise and listen, he said. And when I say the word listen, that came down to one of our other guests that we had. Remember? Listen. And again, I want people to look back at that episode too. And that was Tamara Taggart, who I had on. And she's a very great advocate. I want to get Tamara, if you're watching this, either now or another episode, I would like to get you on in the new year. And this extends to any of my guests who I've had on. I mean, I'd love to.
We're hoping to line up some great guests for year 3. It'll be year 2025, year 3. It'll be year 3 officially for the podcast. It'll be great. We have been on the podcast for an hour, but we said we were going to be a bit short, so we can probably go closing comments. I just wanted to quickly, in case I don't get a chance to do it on our year-end one that's coming up on the 30th. I just want to quickly give a few numbers on the growth of the podcast, like year over year. Like in 2022, I kind of just treated like the channel. Like I basically ignored the channel. It wasn't really even a channel in 2022. I only used the channel to kind of throw up your Twitter Space episodes. I cut them down. I kind of threw them up on the channel just to preserve your episodes. I almost treated it like a historical document. I just kind of cut them down and put them up there. But really, nobody watched them, honestly, for the amount of effort that I put in cutting them. I put in like 4 hours to cut them all. Like each episode, each time I was putting maybe 4 hours in each time. But I just wanted to quickly go through some stats. In 2022, for a whole year, we only got 505 watch hours for the whole year, which isn't that great, right?
No,
and I mean that's kind of understandable, because like I said, I wasn't even treating it like a proper YouTube channel at that time. In 2023, our first official year of PWD podcasts, it went from 505 watch hours to 1,700 watch hours. That was in 2023. And now in 2024, it's gone from 1,700 to 3,400 hours. So it's doubled in 1 year time. In 1 year's time, our watch hours have doubled to 3,400 hours.
That is amazing.
So it really good. Some really good metrics there, right? It just goes. And another thing too is like we're averaging on, basically 150 eyeballs a day. Literally 150 eyeballs a day are watching us every single day. 150 eyeballs on whatever, on the whole channel.
That's very impressive.
It really is, right? You think about that. 150 eyeballs every single day are watching something on the channel.
Well, and even the elf on the shelf is watching too.
Yeah. But anyway, we should punch out, Brent. But let's, I do hope people tune in for our year end, because it'll be great. We'll have the whole panel on there. And again, the whole idea of the panel, we'll talk about kind of individual successes. We'll kind of go around the table and we'll ask each of the panelists, what was your individual success this year, and what do you expect or not expect for people with disabilities in 2025? So that'll be the two questions that we'll ask. We'll go around and get everybody's opinion on, what was their success in the year, and what do they expect or not to expect in 2025.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
And so I'll basically just give my ending comment for today's podcast. First of all, season's greetings to all my viewers that watch the show on a regular basis. All the best in 2024. What's left of it. It's 4 more days to go. Get rid of 2024 and go into 2025. And I want everybody to stay tuned to our final episode of the year, coming up on Monday the 30th. That's going to be great. And second of all, I hope everyone's enjoyed this year's podcasts. Please go back and revisit them if you want to catch up on any missed episodes. And as always, Neil, as the editor producer, he does so much work. Behind the scenes here, and as you see, he's on the podcast here. He keeps things going. It's a huge cost, right? Every year, Neil doesn't say very much, a lot about it, but it's like around $600 to basically keep things going.
Roughly,
roughly $600. I mean, if and I'm not here to basically.
That's including my my website, by the way.
Yeah.
Which some people might say, well, what's the point of the website? But the website is important because it helps to advertise everything. So
yeah. And and here we we keep the channel going. Also, I mean, just to bring awareness to the inequalities of government imposed poverty, legislated poverty, and talk about lived experience stories. I mean, I love to hear when I have guests on, they talk about like what's happening in their life, and it's about a community get together, bringing PWD together and talk about what they go through, what do they want to see changed, how is the system affecting their lives, bringing politicians on from every level. I'd love to in the new year. One of my goals, and I'll be talking about this on our next episode, but one of my goals is to have different members from every party come on and just to have their viewpoints of what do they see changed, right? I mean, what can they bring to the table? Our voices going forward to changing the system, how we see the system now. Where do they see the level of a basic income going forward? I know there's the appetite for it. And of course, there's always the rhetoric of, well, society can't afford basic income. Well, can we afford the way that the system's going now, where we're paying more to treat the people unhoused? It's costing more to keep people unhoused than it is to actually provide the dignity and the housing and the supports to keep people housed and get these services that people need in today's society. Things are not going to be easy next year. I know that. Mm-hmm. So we need to be proactive and actually you take care of people before things get really bad. My mom always said to me, Brent, when things slow down economically, governments usually what they're supposed to do is to take care of citizens and make sure that they're taking care of economic slowdown. Because when there's an economic slowdown, I can tell you 100% that there's not going to be a rate increase.
So, right? So what was David Eby's logic then for the economic slowdown? Let's take care of myself first.
Well,
and worry about everybody else later.
Well, and that's what we discussed at a dinner table and around different discussions. It was like saying, well, okay, so the premier says that people are hurting, they're suffering right now, but they went ahead and gave every single member of the legislative assembly, doesn't matter which level it is, there's staffers, there's MLAs, everyone got a huge increase, a huge increase. Yeah. But what about their citizens? I mean, seniors. Now, next year I want to do a lot of episodes, and I really encourage seniors with disabilities to come onto the show. Yeah. Like reach out to Neil.
You know what I would love? I would actually love to get Jean Swanson back on.
Yes,
I loved when she was on year. That was back year one. I was back on year one, but she's great. She is great. I loved that episode so much. I told you I had this giant smile on the inside of my stomach. I had this huge smile. Yeah, and it was the whole time she was on. I had this massive smile. Yeah.
Well, I mean, seniors with disabilities, right? I mean, they get up to a certain age, and all of a sudden, you lose your disability status. Oh, but you're still disabled. But now you don't get this and don't get that, and that has to change. So, I mean, I can talk more about that on another episode. But first of all, I want to thank everyone for tuning in today to PWD Allies podcast. And if you basically have the financial means and you would like to help out the channel, look back at the PWD Allies Christmas telethon.
Basically, in the chat right now, in the live chat right now, you'll see a dollar sign
on the right hand side.
On the right hand side. There's a dollar sign, like basically a dollar bill. You can click the dollar bill and donate. Like, whether it's $1 or $2, you can say, hey, I want to. As Minnie is, she's on chat right now. She says, Neil, do you have a buy me coffee option? And I said, well, basically, yeah, because we're more monetized now. So anybody want to buy us a coffee, you can throw us $2, hitting that dollar bill, and pay us the $2. and then when the video goes live, it takes a while. Or sorry, when the video goes into a video, it's not live anymore. When it just goes into a video, sometimes it takes another 24 hours again to switch over. So the dollar sign will go away for about 24 hours, maybe 12 hours. And then it comes back again. So it's the dollar bill is live now because we're live. Yeah. And then when it goes to video, it kind of the dollar bill goes to sleep for a few hours, and then after it goes to sleep, it'll come back again, and you'll see it there again, or where it'll be like super thanks. It's called super thanks or super like. So you just hit the dollar bill. And again, you can donate that way. So it's a really good way, like I've said before on the last podcast, because it's very anonymous. You don't have to supply any email address. I know like a lot of Interact transfers. A lot of people don't like using PayPal, and they don't like Interact transfers because it's like, well, I want to keep my email private. Well, the way YouTube does it, you don't have to supply any email. You just you basically, it's all tied. All of the donations are tied directly to your YouTube account that's on your phone or whatever, right? Whatever device you're using. So you're not sharing a personal email address with me. You're only sharing it with Google or YouTube, right?
Yeah, behind the scenes stuff.
Behind the scenes, yeah.
I mean, but if a one of our viewers still would like to do a regular e-transfer, they can do so.
They can do that too, yeah.
Yeah, just look for our email addresses. I mean, weatherman.langley@gmail.com is my email address, and then Neil, yours is the.
Mine is neeljm@telus.net, and I mean,
if the person wants to do it that way, you can do it that way.
And that'd be great. That would be great too. I mean, on every episode, we always have our emails posted at the end of the episode, and when we run the credits, you'll see it at the end of the credits. You have your email listed. I have my email listed. And so if people want to do it that way, they can. But I do like the option now that YouTube has kind of given us. Is that for people that want to be completely private and not give any email out, they can just do it directly through the YouTube super thanks or super like, and it's great. It's great.
Well, yeah, I mean, even the elf on the shelf even agrees.
Yeah.
Like yes. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed our episode. Stay tuned to our episode on the 30th, Monday, December 30th, definitely hope you tune in then, because it's gonna be
always enjoy these spontaneous episodes, Brent. We just kind of wing it. I hope everybody had fun on this one. I did. We look forward to seeing you on the 30th.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Take care.
Okay.